Hey everybody, it's Dr. Carmen Bryant. This is Car Chronicles. How are you guys doing? Good to see you guys. Good to talk to you guys. I can't really see you. I know you guys are thinking you can't see me. I can see you. But anyway, you guys ready? Let's do this. On the last video that I posted, I told you I was going to go in a little more detail about this narcissist, the lion pride, the children. Okay, listen, like I said, 2024, I said this on New Year's. 2024, we're going to keep it real. We're going to get rid of these excuses. And some of these excuses are, some of you are desperate. Now, I'm only talking to who I'm talking to. But some of you guys are so desperate to be in a relationship that you discard your own child. And not only do you discard your own child, when you have children, you are no longer number one. Now, keep in mind, you still have to do self-care. Just like on the airplanes. In the event that the plane loses cabin pressure, you will see the face mask fall, the oxygen mask fall out of the top console. Make sure that you secure the mask on your face before you help the person next to you. So self-care is important. I'm not saying that you have kids and you shouldn't take care of yourself, but you are no longer the most important person. Now your children are the important. You have to think of someone besides yourself. Now, this is not even those that are narcissists. I'm just saying you've got to think of your kids, not your kids, before you think of yourself. And that includes in the dating world. Some people have made a vow that they will not date or get involved with anybody, especially coming out of these narcissist relationships, until their children get a little older. Some of you guys are so desperate, it doesn't matter, and you accept anything. And you got to understand that a narcissist is a predator. And some of them don't even like kids. And you have to remember the story that I told you about the lion pride. The lion pride, when a lion takes over a pride and they kill the male lion that was in charge of the pride, they either kill them because they've gotten too old, or they run them off and they just die off because they've gotten too old. What they will do is, if there are any cubs from that last lion, they go and kill the cubs. And then they reproduce to create another pride, or they reproduce with their own children. They reproduce. And if you notice, males don't stay within the pride. It's always females, and then you have the king of the jungle, which is the lion. Well, a narcissist thinks the same way. When they come into your household, it doesn't matter whether you have kids or not. Now, they're going to do anything that they can possibly do to impress you. And I told this story a long time ago. I was listening to a convicted pedophile who is I'm trying to think, level 3 offender. So that's like, I think, a level 3 offender, which is like the worst offenders, and they are monitored for life. They put on the sex offender registry, and they are most likely to reoffend. That's the whole thing. And what he was saying is that the way that he would prey on children, he would go to like major events like football games or child events, and he would look for parents that were single parents, and frustrated a lot of times, but single parents. But what he would do was go through the crowd, and he would put his hand on the back of a child's back. And when he put his hand on the back of the child's back, he said if they leaned into the touch, he knew that the child was desperate for attention, desperate for touch. He said if they yanked away, or if they, get your hands off of me, he said that was not a likely prey. He said if they leaned into the touch, he knew that was his object of attention. So he will watch and focus to see who they go to, and then he will watch the parent. He would strike up a conversation. He would even offer, tutoring, or, I'm the coach of this, but some of you guys are so vulnerable, and some of those kids have wore you out to a point where you're just waiting for somebody to come help. And so you're just wide open, and you want a man, or you want a woman. Men too. Some men are desperate too. And you want somebody so bad that you just need a relief. So if they come in and offer relief, you're willing to take the relief. Now, not all narcissists are pedophiles. Not all narcissists are child predators. However, they will play a role and make it seem like they love kids so much. But the whole thing is to impress you. The whole thing is to get into your emotions. The whole thing is to turn you like this is a really good person. They love kids. They weren't able to have kids for themselves, or whatever. The thing about it is if you have a child, like for example, if you have a child by a man, and it is a male child, a boy child, you have to remember that male narcissists are very territorial, and they're very jealous. And it'll start off as, they love bomb the child. They love bomb the child, and sometimes the child has problems with their own father. And we're just talking about the male children right now. But they have problems with because you probably were in a narcissistic relationship prior to that, or some kind of toxic relationship. But the child may have problems with their own father. So they love bomb that child, and they, just like they do you, and they fill in those holes by being what the child desperately wants. They buy them things, they take them places, and the child is more vulnerable than an adult is. And you'll hear children say, well, he's more father than my father is. He spends money, he does this, he buys me games, he takes me here, he spends time with me, he does all that. Yeah, but he's pouring into that little child, and just like with you, there's nothing for free. So if I pour into this child, the expectation is that you will be loyal at all costs. You will never say anything behind my back. You will be loyal. You will do as I tell you. I will have total control over you. Eventually, as the child begins to grow older, or if that child looks like the father, you know, that narcissist has a problem, because that is a child by another lion. That is a child by another man. And that narcissist is competitive. Yes, I know you guys are wondering, how does a grown narcissist, a grown man, compete with a child? Because they're still children in their head. They're still children in their emotions. And they compete because that is another man's child. That is another attachment to someone else outside of me. And they'll do whatever they can to destroy that child and cause that child to really have PTSD. But they'll do whatever they can to destroy that child, just like they destroy you, inside out. And you'll see them, they'll start doing things like, you need to stop babying him all the time. You know, yes, we as women, sometimes we over-nurture our boys, but they get to a point where they're harsh. Punch them in the chest, grab them, talk to them crazy. And you're looking like the child is only 3 or 4 years old, or the child's only 5 or 6 years old. They're punching them in the chest. They're manhandling these kids. They're overdoing it, but they're trying to convince you, you know, you need a man to rough them up. You need them so they won't be so sensitive. That's an excuse, ladies. And some of you are accepting it. They're abusing the child. Now, what about the females? Men, you got women that slip in your DMs. You got women that slip in and become the mother that your child has never had. Now, it could come to your boys, where they become the mother that the boys never have, but yet they're harsh on those boys. But the girls, for example, the girls, because of the fact the girl is by another woman, and so they're already competitive. They're competitive with your girls. You'll notice sometimes, even with the guys, sometimes you'll notice that they act just as young as the girl or the boy. You know, they act as young as your kids. They act like teenagers. They compete with the teen friends. They compete. They always want to be the best mom or the best dad. They always want to compete. You know, they dress like they dress. They talk like they talk. You notice they're always around your teenagers' friends or whatever. You know, and the females, on top of that, the females will go after the jugular. The females are harder on the females than the females are harder than they are on the boys. And so males, you also have to pay attention when this woman comes in trying to be the nurturer, because that is the game, because most women are nurturers. And so that is the game. They'll use that as a weapon, and you have to watch it, because they'll begin to abuse your daughters, talk to her crazy, make her feel less than. It's like the, what was it? Snow White, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most beautiful of them all? And the mirror said, you, queen, you are the something fairest of them all, but there is one other. You know, there's one other. And so this is what this wicked witch of the West does, this female narcissist. They compare themselves to the youth. You know, they're looking at this young girl or this young teenager, and they can see their own youth fading, and they can see their youth in this person. Or if that child looks like the other parent, they're going after the other parent in the child, or they go after that child. And you guys have to be careful, because you're excusing it, and they make up these excuses. You know, boys are going to be boys, or, you know, this is what you have to do when it comes to girls. You know, and they're being cruel. They're being harsh. If your children are telling you that she's mean or he's mean, you better believe it. You know, if they start telling you things that are being said, and you have to remember that that narcissist is going to try to divide you from your child. They'll find a reason to get that child out of the home, where there's homeless shelter, where there's an orphanage, adoption, or sending it back to the child, sending it back to the parent that may have been abusive, drug addict, whatever. But they will try to divide you from your own children. Anything that happens. And then all of a sudden you'll notice, sometimes, not all the time, you know, they're attacking your kids. They get abuse charges. CPS is called. You better believe what is happening in your household, and stop being so desperate desperate to be in a relationship. Your children become first. Now, I'm not saying in a regular relationship that you put your children above your relationship. I'm talking about a narcissistic relationship and relationships where there are red flags, situationships. You got to take care of your kids. You got to pay attention, y'all.